Hey everyone, Colt here for MMOHuts.com. World of Tanks underwent what Wargaming is calling its largest and most exciting update ever last week, and there's a lot to unpack. The first change you'll notice for World of Tanks' massive 1.0 update is as soon as you log in, you'll see the new garage. In fact, calling it a garage doesn't feel right anymore. Your tanks are now viewable in a large, very detailed outdoor area. The camera on this screen also supports a tighter inward zoom and a wider outward zoom than the previous garage, so you can view your tanks from new angles and in much higher detail. You'll also be able to see your crew members in the garage for the very first time. This new level of detail is thanks to the game's new graphics engine known as the Core engine. The Core engine's been under development for 4 years and is finally ready for implementation in World of Tanks. Of course, World of Tanks now not only boasts a new level of detail for terrain, textures, and objects in its world, but also new physics to go with them. Water now ripples, forms waves, and shows reflections realistically. The clouds in the sky now move with wind flow and direction, and the sky's color changes based on dynamic lighting. It honestly looks and feels like a completely different game in my opinion. To accommodate the new graphics engine, all of the game's 30 maps have been completely remastered. Several of the maps, like Fisherman's Bay, Ruinberg, Pilsen, and others, have also had improvements made to the design of the maps themselves. For example, on Fisherman's Bay, teams moving in from the south were at a massive disadvantage when trying to take the leftward flank, as cover spots were very few, and the ones that did exist were practically useless without good gun depression. This kind of imbalance meant that teams spawning in the south were much more likely to lose a match. As such, Wargaming has made it a huge priority to rebalance these maps and provide more equal opportunities for both teams. In addition to completely remastered maps, Wargaming has introduced a new map called Glacier. It's a 1000 by 1000 random battles map for vehicle tiers 4 through 10, and is based on the mountains of Sweden in winter. The map has a lot of varied architecture. The center offers a great place for light tanks to do battle. The northwestern corner, which is a frozen ship graveyard, is a haven for heavy tanks. The southeast, with its multitude of bushes, offers a great hiding spot for medium tanks and tank destroyers. Wargaming boasts that this massive visual overhaul and slew of new content won't have a bearing on the game's minimum system requirements, though. They've included a handful of preset graphics options to make adjusting to the new engine easier for a wider array of PC builds. If your machine sits on the lower end of the spectrum and you're worried about how well you'll be able to handle the 1.0 update, you can download Wargaming's EnCore tool. The link is included in the description below. This will give you a good idea of what you can expect when you've finished installing the update. There's also a large number of manually adjustable settings so that you're able to fine-tune your gameplay experience to fit your hardware. Another massive project that's included as part of the 1.0 update is a completely overhauled soundtrack. Recorded by the Prague Symphony Orchestra, the aim of the new soundtrack was to create military-style tank music that's as authentic as possible for each area in the game, so the music fits more closely with each locale. Each track was recorded with actual ethnic instruments, so you'll be able to hear a lot of influences from American country, Indian, African, and Nordic music, as well as everything in between. If you'd like to listen to the new soundtrack in full, you can check below for a link where you can listen to and even download the entire soundtrack, in addition to a handful of bonus tracks completely free of charge. Since the update went live, I've put in a handful of hours myself, and I have to say I'm really impressed with how well it handles. My computer's no slouch. I've got a 6th gen i7, 8 gigs of DDR4 RAM, and a 960 GTX. With that in mind, I was getting incredibly smooth frame rates using the game's auto-detected graphics settings. The core gameplay is still as fun as it's ever been, and it's still a pleasant hybrid of arcade-style action and realistic simulation. That hasn't changed. Matchmaking also seems to be more ironed out than the last time we looked at the game as well. Anytime that I died, it felt like it was because of my own decision-making or positioning. I never felt like I was being paired with people that were far beyond my skill level or with overpowered tanks. Credit gaining after matches for non-premium accounts is still frustrating and can make progress feel stifled for more impatient players like me. Still, the actual game itself is fun enough that the grind to get new tanks and upgrades can still be enjoyable. The World of Tanks 1.0 update is of course live now and ready to play, so make sure you give your Wargaming client time to update. If you're not already part of the massive audience World of Tanks has built over the last few years, you can head over to the World of Tanks webpage and start playing for free today. Well, that's all for today. For more on World of Tanks, keep it locked on MMOHuts.com.